And US President Donald Trump has said that Israel and Hamas have agreed on the first phase of his Gaza peace plan.
And they have hailed it as a historic and unprecedented step to ending the two-year-old war. Well, in a post on Truth Social Network, Trump said that all of the hostages will be released very soon and Israel will withdraw its troops to an agreed-upon line, calling it the first steps towards a strong, durable and everlasting peace.
Trump received a note during the White House meeting saying a Gaza deal was very close and he was seeking his approval for a social media post. Very close. And this note was handed to Trump by none other than the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And this was seen by an AFP photographer who was there in the room. Trump, in his post, also thanked mediators Qatar, Egypt and Turkey. The mediators also confirmed an agreement for the first phase. Qatari Foreign Ministry, in a statement on social media, said that an agreement was reached on all provisions and implementation mechanism on the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire, which it said will lead to ending the war, the release of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners, and the entry of aid. The statement said that the details will be announced later.
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister's office said that Benjamin Netanyahu spoke with US President Donald Trump and the two had what it described as a very emotional and warm conversation, congratulating each other on the historic achievement of signing the agreement.
Netanyahu said that he would convene the government on Thursday to approve the agreement and bring home all the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Hamas said that it has submitted lists of Palestinian prisoners who are to be released by Israel in exchange of the hostages.
Well, a source within the group told AFP that Hamas will exchange 20 living hostages for 2,000 Palestinian prisoners as part of the first phase. A source which is familiar with the negotiations said that the exchange will take place within 72 hours of the implementation of the agreement, which is expected to be signed on Thursday.
Hamas has called on Trump and guarantor states to compel Israel to fully implement the ceasefire and not allow it to evade or procrastinate in implementing what has been agreed now. All right, to discuss this further with us, we're now being joined by Giorgio Cafiero from Washington, D.C. Mr. Cafiero is a professor at Georgetown University and a CEO of Gulf State Analytics. Professor Cafiero, welcome to World DNA. Thanks so much for joining us here. The first phase has been agreed upon. It's finally some good news after months and months, or rather now 2 years of full-fledged war. At this point, how do you see this proceeding in terms of how soon will this exchange start taking place and which are the other parties which make this happen on the ground?
Yeah, thank you. So great to be back on your show. Always an honor to be your guest. My understanding is that the two sides are going to be moving forward with their commitments under phase one within the next 5 days. Again, just to repeat, this entails Hamas handing over the Israelis who have been held captive in Gaza and the Israelis withdrawing to a certain line in Gaza. Now, to get to your question about sort of what will come later on, I think it's important for everyone to appreciate that this process is complicated. Of course, a positive sign that the sides have agreed to phase one of the ceasefire, but there are some sticking points that have yet to be worked out. Very complicated issues. Some of them relate to Hamas disarming, also questions surrounding post-war governance in Gaza. Many details we don't have right now. The plan seems very vague, but I think in upcoming days, weeks and months, maybe we'll see the different sides with support from different actors in the region try to negotiate through these points.
Right. There are still some sticking points and, of course, ambiguity that has to be straightened out. But that being said, that also brings us to the question of trust or perhaps the lack of it. Now, Hamas has confirmed the deal, but it's calling on Trump and other guarantors to make sure that Israel sticks to the word. Now, given how fragile these truces can be, how deep the mistrust stands on both the sides. Now, what kind of guarantees and oversight could actually make this deal stick?
Well, this is one of the big weaknesses, I think, of Trump's 20-point initiative is the fact that there are not really any mechanisms in place to ensure that Israel is going to continue abiding by the terms of the ceasefire after Hamas has handed over all of the living Israelis who have been held captive in Gaza. And this is a huge concern on the part of Hamas and really all the Palestinians in Gaza, a concern that Israel will resume waging its genocidal war on Gaza. And really, it's very difficult for Hamas to believe that the Trump administration is going to hold Israel accountable and put pressure on Israel to continue abiding by the terms of the ceasefire. I'm sure all your viewers are aware Israel does not exactly have an impressive record when it comes to abiding by ceasefires. So I think all of those concerns are very valid concerns about what will happen after phase one.
The U.S. president saying that it will play a role in helping to rebuild war-torn Gaza and keep it safe and peaceful. And, this is something which we were just discussing earlier. It's vague. Who takes care of Gaza after this? Who gets appointed to run things in Gaza? That still remains a question. But now there seems to be a more profound U.S. imprint that is looming over it. Do you feel so?
Yeah, I mean, this is, of course, a situation in which Trump is making very bold claims, not necessarily offering any details. So it will be important to see specifically what Trump is talking about. Perhaps he'll provide those details at some point soon, at least hopefully at some point. But I think it also needs to be pointed out that when Trump was running for president in 2024, he really sent the message out to U.S. voters and really to people all over the world that unlike Joe Biden, he was going to be a president who would bring peace to the world. He would be able to negotiate peace deals. We haven't seen that take place in the Ukraine conflict. But when he was running for president, he did say he was going to bring the war in Gaza to an end. So I think right now, with the two sides agreeing to phase one, this is really at least in terms of the optics, this is a huge win for Trump. It gives him a chance to really say that he's making good on his 2024 campaign pledge during the first year of his second term. Again, we have to see what happens with the phases beyond this first one. But right now, Trump is really focusing on, emphasizing that he is a president who knows how to negotiate deals and how to bring conflicts to a conclusion. And I think probably so far in his second term, this is his biggest diplomatic breakthrough.
All right, Professor Kafiro, thanks so much for joining us here on World DNA. And I guess cautious optimism is what everyone is, wanting to exercise at this point. And, not to be pessimistic, but precedent only suggests that phase one doesn't necessarily mean phase two is going to be as smooth or phase three will even happen. But let's just be cautiously optimistic and just see that hopefully there seems to be a resolution at the end of this. That was Professor Kafiro joining us here on World DNA.
Thank you.
Yes.